Can you believe he lost $100,000? I mean, who misplaces $100,000? Well, the truth is, he didn't misplace it. It was stolen. That's what I want to talk to you today in this episode of Hanging Out with Popsie Guy. Yesterday, we talked a little about being a good steward of your own money. If you're like me, you're over the age of 60, and maybe you'd like to retire someday, semi-retirement. And if you happen to have some retirement dollars in a 401k or a pension, chances are good you're being inundated with financial advisors wanting you to come visit them in their office because they're going to do a customized portfolio for you and only you. Don't buy it. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't buy it. I mean, for those of you that don't know, I spent the better part of my career, 20 plus years, as a financial advisor. I owned my own small firm for a number of years, worked with other folks, good folks. Don't get me wrong, there's thousands and thousands of great advisors. But it only takes one bad apple to spoil the whole bunch. I think Michael Jackson might have said that. But when it comes to your money, there's only one person, and that's you, who's responsible for it. Yes, you can go to an advisor who claims to be all that in a bag of chips for retirement planning and distribution planning, and they've got beautiful offices with really high-end decor, and maybe you pull into their office and there's a valet that'll take your car for you, depending on where you are. In some states or some cities, it'll just be a little mom and pop store on Main Street. But it doesn't really matter. What really matters is your ability to have a conversation, adult to adult conversation, with the person who you've chosen to manage your money. So I started the story off saying, how do you lose $100,000? No, this man did not misplace it. What he did do is he misplaced his trust with the person who said that they would take care of his money for him. Turns out that this person, this advisor, 30 plus years in the business, I think it was 37 years, had a pretty long history of disclosures. I think that I actually read in the story it was over 13 different disclosures, which means he's run afoul of the financial regulatory authorities over 13 times in his career. So shame on the guy who lost the money for not knowing that. I put that on him. But you know what? He didn't know where to look. My guess is, and I'm putting myself in this situation, I don't know the facts, that he was referred to this person as someone who was trustworthy, someone who was honest, someone who's made money for people in the past. Just a really nice person. Nice guy, the kind of guy you want to hang out with, have dinner, go out, play some golf, have a beer. Well, it turns out that this particular advisor thought that the best thing to do with this man's $100,000 retirement, worked his whole life, saved $100,000 for retirement, was to put it in a high-tech company that had already declared bankruptcy. So strike two is, what disclosures did the advisor give the client to say, hey, this is the company we're putting your money with? And it gets even worse because the firm that this person worked with is a well-known, highly recognized national firm. And they spend a lot of money in advertising, sponsoring big sporting events. Maybe, I'm sure they have their name on some athletic stadium someplace. And they ooze trust. And they probably do. Some good people, I'm sure, at that organization. But the unfortunate thing is this one man ran into the one person who decided that they were going to do them wrong. And it goes right up the chain. Not only did the advisor run afoul, but because he is a broker, and I'll talk about the differences. I talked a little bit yesterday. I'll share with you again what the differences are between brokers and advisors. But the broker should have been supervised. He should have had folks that were looking at what he was doing, seeing the trade, seeing the person that he's trading for or investing for. You know, what's their risk tolerance? What's their experience? What do they know, if anything, about investing? And they should have put a stop to it right then. All right, so we'll just stop with the sob story and tell you that it's going to be a long haul to get his money back, if he gets it all back. He's going to have to hire attorneys, and the attorneys are going to be like pit bulls to try to recover this money, and I wish him well. But I wanted to make sure you understood that if you were in this situation where you're thinking about retiring or are retired and have a nest egg and you want it professionally managed, but you're not that good with money, it still doesn't excuse you from doing your own due diligence. I'll give you 2 resources that I think you should use, if you haven't already, to do a little background check, a little checkup on the folks that are managing your money. Whether it's a huge multinational organization with offices all over the world and great reputation, or it's just somebody in your local neighborhood who you like and respect and think they do a good job. So write this down. If you're working with somebody who holds themselves out as a financial advisor, the first question you want to ask is, are you a broker or are you an advisor? And I'll tell you why that's important. A broker will register with the financial industry's FINRA regulations, and they will have their whole background in the business posted right there. Excuse me, all you have to do is go to Google, type in broker check, and once you get past all the sponsored links, don't click on the first thing you see. You want to go down and you want to see brokercheck. I think it's .com. I should have checked. But what you'll see there is some boxes where you can fill in information. If you know the broker's full name, John Q. Smith, put that right in there. If you happen to have is what's called CRD, which is the Centralized Registry Deposit information, you can put that in there as well. Or there's another option, and you can put them all in. It just narrows the search down and gives you more specific or more accurate searching. Is you could put his or her firm name in there. And if you only put the name in, you're going to see everybody with that name. And then as soon as the database runs out of names that match that exact name, you'll see similar names. So it's good to know the person's full name. If you have their middle name or middle initial, make sure you put that in there as well, because it will give you a more accurate search. And then the first 2 columns will tell you how many disclosures they've had. And by definition, a disclosure is any time that they had to tell FINRA or the governing authorities in their state that they've run afoul with securities laws. That'll be there. And the next box over, if I remember correctly, I looked at the website right before recording, is the number of years they've been in the business. Now, what I did, just as we were getting ready to record, is I put my own name in there. Now I'm not registered anymore. Haven't been for years. But not surprisingly, my name didn't come up, but other people with my name popped up. So of course, curiosity, I wanted to click on that, and I saw a couple folks, not with my exact name, but I was more interested in number of disclosures and number of years in business. And it was disappointing to see this one young man, 1 disclosure, 1 year in the business. How does that happen? Well, you can open the box and you can see. In this particular case, it was a financial disclosure. My guess was he had to settle bad debt. I don't think it was a bankruptcy. I think it would have been more specific if it was something like that. But regardless, it's good that the firm that hired him gave him a chance. I root for folks like that. They were honest. They didn't try to hide it. You can't hide these things. Uncle Sam knows. However, so that's what you want to do. Go to broker check and look up the person who is managing your money, if they are what we call securities licensed, which means they've passed an exam to sell securities and earn commission. And that's really what they're doing, is they're in a position where they'll make recommendations to you to buy mutual funds or buy stocks and other securities that are commissionable, and they'll earn money on that trade. The other type of advisor, and I think this is the one that I mentioned yesterday that I tend to lean towards, is the fiduciary-minded advisor. They're generally not registered with FINRA because they don't earn commissions through the sale of products. What they do is that they earn advisory fees and financial planning fees that are disclosed in the Form ADV that I had mentioned the other day. So that's why it's important for you to ask, what type of advisor are you? Are you a securities licensed advisor? Are you not securities licensed but hold yourself out as a registered investment advisor, or work for a firm that is a registered investment advisor? Ask those questions, because you'll notice that there's a correlation between the advice that you get and how they're paid. So the fiduciary standard is a standard that's higher than the best interest standard. The best interest standard says that this financial professional will work in your best interest with the facts given. Those facts are usually contained in a risk analysis form, interviews. They'll take a full measure of all your assets, liabilities, and then come back and say, hey, I think this will make the most sense for you and your goals, what you're trying to accomplish based on what you've told me. Where a registered investment advisor who holds themselves out as earning fees for managing money or doing financial planning services will do the same thing, the same analysis. It's not very different. The risk disclosures and the risk analysis forms and the conversations that they have. But those are the ones that will come back and say, hey, I've customized a portfolio for you and you alone. And I'm going to charge you X% a year to manage it. And you've seen the commercials where one huge money management firm is pitting themselves against another huge money management firm. Says, we're different. Why are we different? Because we don't earn commissions. Yeah, that might be a difference, but that doesn't make them different. They earn a ongoing fee. You can call it a commission if you want, because that fee is based on the size of the portfolio they're managing for you. And naturally, the bigger the portfolio, the more money they make. But they'll also say, and I'm not bashing them, I'm just preparing you for these meetings that you'll probably have, is that they'll say to you, we're on the same side of the table as you, which is true, because if you lose money, don't let them lie to you. Do not let them lie to you and say, when you lose money, we lose money. No, that's not how it works. When you lose money, they make less money. You lose money, they make less. How is that the same? So don't fall for that. Just know that the size of your portfolio will determine their revenue. And that's really the difference. So you can go to the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, and you can look up an investment advisor, a registered investment advisor, the same way you would for a broker on a broker check. You go to the SEC, and you'll have all the disclosures you need. The Form ADV that you should have already had in your hand will be available to you. A fee schedule, how they manage the money, what, if any, turnover in the portfolio they expect, what's the composition of the firm, who are the firm owners, what are their backgrounds, gives you a lot of detail. So I highly recommend, when you're investigating hiring a financial professional to work with you, that you do these simple research techniques. Not saying that they won't make mistakes, not saying you're going to make a lot of money if you pick the right one. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is, don't be like this poor guy that lives right up here in Northwest Florida, who worked his whole life, put aside $100,000, hired somebody he thought was working in his best interest. Come to find out, there's an old saying in the financial services field that you probably don't know, but I'm going to share with you right now. Is our motto is, we turn your assets into our commissions. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. Now listen, hanging out with Popsie Guy is a lot more fun than talking about these things, but for some reason it's been on my heart to really share what I know about these things. I'm not in the business anymore. None of this should be construed as financial advice. It's just having been there and seen it, and having run my own firm to do the complete opposite of what I see day to day in these quote-unquote financial planning firms. I wanted to give you a heads up. That's all. That's all. Popsie Guy, put a little video out there the other day. Is it wisdom or is it advice? This is wisdom. The advice is specific to, yeah, go ahead and do your research. You need to do what you need to do to protect yourself. There is nobody out there who's going to say to you, it's okay, I've got you. Any losses that you sustain, I'll eat them. That's all. That's not going to happen. All right, I think I'm going to continue this at some level, because there's going to be more stories that I want you to hear. There are going to be more examples that I want you to know how to protect yourself. But in the meantime, I've got some other thoughts on my mind and probably drop some more pearls of wisdom that you can digest or throw away. It's completely your call. But hey, listen, don't be taken advantage of by people that say they've got your best interest at heart. Because as I said the other day, nobody cares more about you than you. So I hope you have a wonderful day. And this is Popsie Guy signing off.